Hey friends, welcome back to Confidence and Coffee, where we keep it real, raw, and a little bit caffeinated. I'm your host, Ashley Henriott, speaker, author, and your go-to hype girl for when life feels like a lot. Around here, we talk about things that keep you up at night. Self-doubt, fear, people-pleasing, faith, and finding your voice again, without the fluff. So grab your coffee, pull up a seat, and let's talk about stuff that actually matters. Hey you guys, welcome back to Confidence and Coffee. I am in kind of like a celebrity shop with our guest today, Kathy Goldstein, who is the big deal, okay? And she would not say this, but I'm allowed to say this. Kathy is a board certified acupuncture physician. It is a line, we all know this. And she's all about holistic health expert, and she's the founder, and you guys may know of this, of True Energy Skincare. She has over 40 years, I want to say, of experience in energy medicine. And she developed the True Energy all natural. I'm so excited. I'm going to be like, cook me up, okay? I will influence all the things. But an all natural facelift system combining natural skincare with energy-based techniques. She's amazing. She was on USA Today. Her message is all over the world because what she does works. Like, look at her. Okay, she's beautiful. Kathy, you are amazing. And before we continue, I'm curious. I want to know a little bit more about you and like your beautiful secrets, all the things. Like, you have a quote that you said, and it really stuck with me when I was looking into the true care, which I know about. And you said that the skin is like a system. And it's constant, let me remember, it's constant communication with the brain. When the face can't fully express, the brain can't fully process. Mm-hmm. I mean, and then there was another quote you talked about, and you said, why freezing your face freezes your emotional intelligence. And yes. I really want to dive into that because Kathy, that stuck with me. Talk to me about that and tell our community here about more about you.
Okay. So let me just start with first of all, thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate I've spent my career really aligning with that. There's an innate intelligence that is really waiting and willing to be expressed. It just needs a little support. And it's our natural intelligence and our connection with our higher self and our with God and our spiritual being. And so I definitely feel like that. Yes, exactly. That is kind of the flow here is that this is by nature. This design is by nature, right? Our entire body, which is a fascinating machine.
Yeah. I love that you're connecting it with God. Like, if anything, that means literally everything to me personally, because God is my everything. And this audience, they're discovering their relationship with God. And I really want to talk about true energy and just like the passion behind it, and then how you connected that spiritually. I would love for you to talk about where the line is for you and how that spiritually connects.
All right. Well, actually, that's a kind of really fun topic because how I originally got into holistic medicine, acupuncture specifically in my initial, is that at 26, I almost died from Crohn's disease. I had, over a couple-year period, had 7 surgeries. I was hospitalized for 3 months. I almost died a couple of times, and my trajectory was changed because I was planning on going into the allopathic Western medicine. And this was like, you know what I discovered? I discovered that, allopathic medicine saved my life, but it did nothing for me in really how to utilize this healing system, right? So we have a respiratory system, we have a digestive system, but we don't have a healing system in Western medicine. So in energy medicine, in holistic medicine, we have a healing system, and it's everything that integrates into that healing system. So that really changed my trajectory. I call it the sledgehammer. I often look for the feather. Feather isn't always enough of a message. Sometimes we need something a little stronger.
Amen.
Right? You got to listen though, somehow or other. So ultimately, I spent a lot of my career in treating people who had autoimmune diseases, infectious diseases. I heard often, you're my last resort. I've had people like check themselves out of the hospital to come to my clinic, and so a very deep into functional medicine. But really, what I was bringing to the table is something very different, which is the energy medicine. And a lot of things that people don't necessarily look at is we often think of energy medicine as something as the future, like Spock and scanning the body and seeing like what's wrong. But this is the thing is that we're already there. We can scan the body energetically. We can see where the imbalances are. We can use energy medicine to realign and balance the body to our innate intelligence and our repair and our health, right? And I'm all about going with nature, not against it. So at 49, which is, now, 16 years ago, I inadvertently caught myself in the mirror unexpectedly, and I was not happy. I realized that how I felt, was not matching how I looked. And I was doing all the right things. I was eating right. I was eating organic. I was exercising. I was meditating, and staying nice and hydrated. But what I realized is that in my practice, where I was working a lot with what's called neuroemotional technique. So it's the neuroemotional complexity of how our emotions show up on our body. Issues are in the tissues, right? And what I found is that I was holding on to all of my stuff, all of my trauma, all of my pain, all of my fear. I was holding on to that in my face, in my emotions, in my expressions, of my facial expressions, because the face is very different than the body. The body kind of has opposing muscles that shorten and lengthen. The face is very different because it's not crossing a joint. It's like skin to skin or muscle to, muscle to skin, bone to skin, so that there's no opposing. So when we have perpetual emotional expressions, they kind of get stuck on our face, which is also why I always say our emotions get stuck on our face, is because we have to consciously release those, right? So
Yeah.
sometimes what people see as aging isn't really aging. It's more stress and more trauma or even current stress. So all of those lines, like the lines around the mouth, from the corners of the mouth to the chin, the nose to the mouth, even the forehead, the 11s between the eyes, which is where, everybody does Botox, is to, and that what really needs to happen is rather than freezing it, I like to say I like to release it rather than freezing it.
Mm.
So, and I'm all about having the topic on Botox, because I mean, I certainly at 49 went, do I start doing Botox? But for me, I couldn't, it was not something that I could connect with just being in holistic medicine. So, but I honor everybody where they are. That's my job, is to meet people where they are and maybe give them some information that they've never heard before, they never thought about before.
This I would love to hear more about that because you do acupuncture. That when your health like really started turning around?
Yes, yes. So that is what happened, is that, thank you for making that point, because that was a transition for me, is that when I, for me, finding the healing system was all about, finding acupuncture. And that was what happened at 26, was I went into acupuncture instead of Western medicine. And so, yes, that's exactly where that really diverted my whole career and also my message.
Yeah. And I Go ahead.
I was just gonna go into the muscles of the face, but go for it, and the
Yes,
brain.
no, do that because that's where I
Okay,
wanted to go. Yeah.
that's where we land. Okay, so here's a perspective. What are the muscles of the face for, right? So the muscles in our face are really about communication. So 90% of our communication happens before our word comes out of our mouth. So when we're in the position of maybe even like traditionally in our fight or flight, our nervous system will bring in warning signs that activate specifically the amygdala, which is in the limbic brain, a specific part of our emotional brain where we have all of our collective emotions that help us to not only thrive, but survive and communicate. So all of that information happens nonverbal. So now in today's world, since we're not necessarily going to experience the bear, but we also will absolutely experience conditions of fear. But let's talk about how that applies like in our everyday life. So our emotional communication, let's actually do it like this. Let's do a scenario. I'm talking to you and you're giving me this heartfelt story about, something that happened that you're really either passionate about or that is painful to you. So what happens is for me to understand how you feel, I do what's called micro mirror your facial expressions. So if you're having a facial expression, I'm going to micro mirror that facial expression to send that information back to my limbic brain, my emotional brain, to tell me how that feels and how you feel. So that comes forward into my decision-making prefrontal cortex, where I now can communicate empathetic words to you because I understand. So without that communication, we're missing a connection. So and these are like the three scenarios I really think that plays out. If you're a mom, our communication with our, let's just say teenagers, because, anxiety is really high with teenagers, right? Our teenagers are learning from facial expressions how to develop those neuro pathways because they don't fully develop until a girl 21, a boy 25, approximately. So part of that limbic resonance, part of that connectivity is helping that teenager to develop their neural pathways into understanding other people, which bottom line is emotional intelligence. So as a mom, it's our job to be able to help them to understand communication. And so in a 3D MRI, if a teenager is looking at videos of people who are unable to make facial expressions, it actually fires up their area in their brain that shows stress and fear. And the reason why is because they can't interpret what they're hearing versus what they're trying to interpret. Like, if like a smile where you're saying, I love you, we can hear the words, but if that smile doesn't go to the eyes, there's another message going on. So this is just topics that we've not discussed out in like the world, and it shows up in dating. It shows up as you in the executive room as that, high-powered
And
CEO or someone who's trying to pitch a product, right?
yeah, and may I say, my husband and I went through a tough patch, and our marriage counselor said that 90% of communication is body language and
That's
tone.
right. That's right.
And so, like, my husband can sit here and be like, "You're so pretty." His face is not showing me admiration. So it's like, wait, are you just saying that because you have to? And maybe he means it, but like, you're so right. I've never
It's your
heard that.
interpretation.
Yeah. So do you want to like, that is so true. Or like, I could make it funny and I could be like, so my 16-year-old, he just needs to learn to regulate his emotions, or does he give me an attitude when he rolls his eyes? I'm just kidding.
Right. Or do you know when your child's lying?
I can tell on your face. Or
That's
when you're
right.
embarrassed or when you're shy.
That's right.
I mean, everybody's always looking for the best skincare, right? And so with True Energy, like there's obviously a lot of passion behind that. And I know that, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you left medical school, right? And you started developing Chinese medicine.
Yes, pre-med. I was finishing my pre-med classes when I got really sick and ended up going to acupuncture school instead of medical school.
Wow. And that was it for you though. You were like, this is where I'm actually supposed to be. Like that.
Right.
Yeah. And I just believe that's God. Because I've never heard this before. And for some reason it's making me emotional as we're talking. And so
I
there's
understand that.
there's obviously something there.
Yeah.
And a lot of skincare products, makeups, even Botox and filler, like, and because I'm an open book, right? Like I love to hear, I love to learn, and I know all
Right.
my community does. And so, like, you talk about, especially, I think that it's like a culture phenomenon where we're like, hey, these things are bad for us, these chemicals, these toxins, these ingredient in, like, this skincare. And it's like, how can we find a good skincare routine or pattern
Right.
that you say, which is so cool. Like, I want us to talk about that. Um,
Yeah.
that addresses that, like, you know,
Yeah.
um, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's dive in because really there's so much misconception as to what your skincare should do, right? So,
Yeah,
you
a
know,
lot of
yeah,
mess, and it's almost like what I'm hearing you say is like trust your skin, like trust yourself, right?
yeah.
Trust your body, come at one with your body, become self-aware of these things, create emotional maturity because it all has to do with the way that we age and the way that we
Mm.
look. And I don't
Yeah,
know, that
you know
makes me
what?
kind of
Let's
emotional and I don't know why.
Well, yeah, you know what? It's good. It's good because that means that, there's a shift, right? There's a shift. So it's all good. It's all perfect, right? So let's actually talk a little bit about that last aspect that you brought up as far as just aging and, how we age. And then we'll go into, I'm all about solutions too. I don't bring up a problem without a possible, solution, right? So, but let's just talk about, as we age, what is the message that we're getting? What is the message that we're getting from social media and the beauty industry? And the message is that how we age is not okay. But the reality of it is that, aging is not optional. How we age is optional. So in the process of really kind of embracing that concept of who we are as we age, yeah, I'm not going to say use dial soap on your face, right? And because that's going to cause, a lot of damage to the skin because our facial skin wasn't designed for, deodorant soap, right?
Mhm.
So, but what I'm going to say is that you know how when you have someone and you first meet them and you kind of click with them and you're really this is going to be a good friend, right? And
Yeah.
then as you get to know them, there's this heartfelt feeling that you get for them when you see them, especially with different facial expressions. It's the facial expressions that trigger your recall, your memory to all of the things that you like about that person that makes you feel connected heart to heart. Right. So,
Yeah.
it's like you were talking about with your son. If he's in a playful, coyish mood, it's gonna warm your heart and you're gonna see it, right? And
Yeah.
then and then the other is that it's the those are lines of expression, right? So now, let's just kind of move into like what is a solution? What is a possibility? So, skincare should work with more than just the surface of your skin. And that's where I was saying skin is a system, right? So, I'm all about tools and I'm all about like skincare that actually does more than just something to the surface of your skin. Like you can put a skincare with chemicals in it and it'll plump the surface of your skin and think, oh, wow, in just 7 days, my skin looks, amazing. But what happens is that ultimately you stop using that skincare because you're not really seeing the results that you initially started with or that you're looking for. And
True.
that's for me has been major is that I've never been able to stick on a skincare routine because inevitably when I look back at it like on hindsight, I thought, well, it's because I wasn't gaining anything from it. So with my philosophy of what skincare should do, I look at it a lot like nutrition in my practice is supplements or nutrition should be functional, like functional health, functional nutrition, functional supplements, functional skincare. So it's about giving your body the nutrients that it needs to be able to perform in its own. Like you can't shove collagen into the skin. The molecule's generally too large and your body is going to do what with it? It's going to try to utilize it, but collagen is a layering system. Like it's how it packs is it packs in a very specific way. So what I do is I'm creating ingredients that one are delivered to the cell exactly where the cell can use them, and this is, making it bioavailable, if you will. And it's a nutrient based ingredient that gives your body the nutrients it needs to produce its own collagen, right? So it's the building block. That's the foundation of being able to change how your cells not only repair, but perform. So I'm changing the performance of the cell to start acting like a younger cell. I'm also using energy frequencies, energy medicine, because in every one of in the skincare, I put a little tiny green bead in every jar that's imprinted with frequencies that are specific to doing exactly what we're talking about, right? And then the other is I'm all about the tools. So I developed the wand to be able to work on those underlying issues like lymphatic, fascia, and muscle, where we're lengthening the areas that are contracted that are dragging the face down, right?
Yeah.
Because this muscle wraps up around the jawline. So to get release into the cheeks, you have to release the muscles of the neck, release the muscles in the mouth that are creating these lines right here from
Mhm.
drawing down onto what I call the expression of the disappointments in life, right? Yeah. Yeah, and be able to actually physically release those with the energetics of balance because you're touching all these acupuncture points on the body. So the wand is very simple in the sense that I'm using it in a very intuitive way that helps to release, lift, right? So that you can get the results that you're looking for. Like I've actually have a before and
Wow.
after of one side of a woman who agreed to do one side of her face. She had Botox and fillers, and she did one side of her face, and the side of her face that she did that true energy protocol, her eyebrow was actually higher than the side that she had done the Botox because you're freezing the muscle
Yeah.
versus actually repairing and releasing so that she could get that more natural lift, right? And then also something that's not going to happen if you're injecting is that being able to pop fillers, you might get what looks like pop of that apple, that cheek, but it's about releasing the muscles that allow that pop, giving the ingredients that help refatting, and having that line for that beautiful cheekbone that generally, you could see on one side of her face that it had changed the actual lines of her face because we're releasing the muscles that are pulling down, right? So instead of the jaw squaring out like it usually does as we age, she's able to have it more square, like it's more like a triangle, the way the face is as we're younger. Lots of stuff there.
I mean, it's so funny because on a personal aspect, I was doing a live this morning, like a get ready with me, and I was showing all my natural makeups and like my natural skincare and stuff. But I literally was talking to them in all transparency when I was live, just like it's so hard to find like a natural, non toxic thing that
Yes.
works within the body that helps you repair damage. Because, like, for me, that's what I was talking about. I was talking about, like, we live in a life full of filters and fillers. And I have been guilty of using that. But I know there's this inner desire for me, and I'm sure so many others that want to truly repair from the inside out. I wrote a book called Confidence is an Inside Job.
Mm,
And so I fully believe that everything in healing and in confidence and embracing who we are starts from
yes.
the inside, not the
Yeah.
outside.
But I understand that. I understand that because how you feel when you look in the mirror can make or break your day. And if you look in the mirror and go, I look tired, I look old, and start like that negative messaging, right? So that's a real thing. And that's actually one of the first things I said in developing, the true energy line in the protocol was I want women to look in the mirror, love what they see, and walk out in the world with confidence that they deserve. Because there's nothing more like the energy you put out is the energy you get back, right? If you walk out of in your day and you have that high vibe energy, all that energy comes back to you. I mean, have you walked out in that kind of vibe and it just people respond to you differently. They smile. They strangers say hi to you. I mean, it's a completely different thing.
Yeah, well, confidence is very the connection to community. I mean, real confidence radiates, right? And like my mission is to get away from the cultural fake it to make it. That's exhausting and
Yes.
isolating, and it's isolating, exhausting, and I think also as a confidence coach perspective, like it definitely is feeding and causing a lot of depression and anxiety that we're seeing today and much in younger people. because of this cultural lie, right? So, like, yes, embrace what you do and meet where you are. And that's why I'm transparent. And that's why the first thing I said was like, I get filler, I get Botox, but I desire something internally, right? That's my message.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so I definitely want to know, like, the thing that stuck with me, Kathy, and here's the question I want to get to is the spiritual connection. I'd love for you to talk about the spiritual connection, but also you said that repairing damage. I don't know why. Why am I emotional? Maybe I'm about to start my period. I don't know.
You don't
But
need
like,
excuses,
right,
you know what? It touches you, and it touches you for a reason.
yeah, it does. Even when I wanted you on here, like, because I've never seen or heard anything like this. So I knew I was going into this like on uncharted territory for me personally. Like, I'm learning from you. And I love this is like the world gives us products that cover up the damage, medicines, everything. Like, I love medicine, I take medication. But like I see it culturally and social media, like we can cover up really well. We can cover up with makeup. We can cover up with
Filters.
Botox filler. We can cover up with like temporary skincare. But what we truly all desire naturally and spiritually is healing, internal healing, consistent healing. That is where confidence lies. That is where inner self is connected truly into feeling good about yourself and not needing the validation from others. Because in doing that, that's why we're doing all these other outwardly things and everything starts inwardly. And I think that's a huge connection to God. God cares about everything. He created us in his image. So he cares about how we take care of ourselves and he cares about our
Yep.
skin and our bodies. He says is our temple. I would love for you to like, the thing for me is like, you're like, you said that we could like help the damage. We could restore the damage. We could have true healing, right? True
Absolutely.
energy is bringing true healing to what I immediately think of trauma too. Anyways, I'm getting off. We'll talk about that in a second. But do you want to talk to me about the spiritual connection to that? Because you
Yeah,
were excited when
I
I was
think
like, we love Jesus here. And you were so excited. And I was like, okay, this is great. Like, I love that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, right, coming from a perspective of a Goldstein, right? I think ultimately spirituality and connection have to do with alignment, right? And so alignment has to do with, feeling like what we do in our everyday life is aligned with our with our spiritual being and our spiritual connection, and obviously this is a process, and it's a correct and continue, and an acknowledgement and a recognition. And I think that on an innate level, we all know when we're doing something that we don't really align with. It's kind of like, oh, I'm going to go on a diet today, but maybe I'll do it tomorrow. Right. So this is the thing, because our limbic, our emotional brain wants to, eat that cake, right? Eat the chocolate cake today.
Brownies downstairs. And I'm like, no.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But this is the human condition. I mean, this is exactly what I study is the science of the brain and the human condition and emotions. So the reality of that is that we're really only about 5% conscious. And sometimes I think that's generous, that we're more emotionally based human beings. And so our need to justify something has to do with being able to compartmentalize and to move forward with our life without having all of this information like bombarding our nervous system, right? So
Yes.
compartmentalizing is a huge part of what we do. So I think that when we're talking about just nature and alignment is that sometimes what we need to just ask ourselves in a gentle, caring way is, does this align with my nature? Does this align with God's nature? Does this align with what I want, not only from my life, but to represent as my life? So I think that this is a process. It doesn't happen in a day. It doesn't happen in a year. It doesn't happen in 10 years. It's a lifetime process. This is not about outcome. This is about how we live our life. So in that process, if there's something that doesn't feel aligned, if you're emotional about something, if you're feeling like a just some kind of way. This is all about us connecting with our feeling mode of, of our triggers, if you will. And it's not gonna we could be doing I mean, what do we make? We make thousands of decisions every hour, thousands,
Yeah.
right? And thousands
Yeah.
of decisions, tens of thousands of decisions in a day. So, obviously that's gonna be pretty challenging to think that we can actually change a lot in one single day. So it's more just taking a moment to check in. And when we feel that kind of thing like you're talking about, when we feel that alignment versus action, it's really about taking a moment to check in, to pray, to whatever, feels right for you in figuring out what about that makes me feel some kind of way. Not negative, not positive, not anything, but just knowing I feel some kind of way about this. What is it? And it might not come to you the first day. It might not come to you for a while and just saying, you know what, I just know all I know is it doesn't feel aligned. What's why? What is that? But honestly, I think that some of it is because they're the idea of our social pressures, and especially if you're, like you are, you're socially very, very visible, right? You're an influencer, so people see you, but what they do is they actually feel you. What they see as you has more to do with how you feel and how you feel to
It's
them.
so true. Yes, it's true. And I'm a huge feeler. A lot of what I do prophetically is I'm a feeler. I'm a prophetic feeler. I'm very empathetic. I can feel the energy and the vibes around me. And if I'm not careful, it can affect me. Like if I don't go into a negative space armed up, is what I like to call it, it
Yeah,
can really affect my mood and the way I behave and my anxieties and my
right.
stress. I've taken on this other energy, which I'm going way off. But yes, so true.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
true.
yeah. But I think that in every one of those moments, like you're talking about, in every one of those moments where you recognize that something doesn't feel aligned, really, it's about recognizing it, understanding it, and knowing it's not the only direction. There's always other directions, and what you were talking, what we're here talking about is the idea of how we look on camera and what happens when people connect with us. And, Ashley, people connect with you because of who you are, right? So ultimately just knowing with, everybody that's, we're talking to and talking with and connecting with is there is never too late. It's never too late to repair. It's never too late to regenerate, rejuvenate. It's never too late to reconnect, not only with ourselves, but with others and with God.
Yeah. And I want to add to that is restore.
Yes. Yeah.
We're
Beautiful.
restoring and we're restoring the damage. I just think it's absolutely beautiful how, I mean, this is obviously your calling and your purpose and something you've committed your life to for so many others. I definitely want to try all the system. Okay. I want to do this true energy system. It's so funny because I literally was just like looking for something. I was just talking about this morning. And so, like, I would love to continue our connection and I would love to collaborate somehow
Yeah.
because what you're doing
Well,
is amazing. And I know it would bring healing to me. And I want people to feel the
mm,
authenticity, of what I do and my experience, and then share it with others. And I feel confident in your system. I feel confident.
yes.
Um,
Yeah.
and so I'm curious. You showed us the products. Show us how the system works
Charge.
just a little bit. Yeah, is that okay? Like,
Yeah,
so
absolutely, because I actually have a thought. So what it is just to kind of, go through that quickly is that it's 5 pieces. It's a daytime, a nighttime treatment, both of those are treatments, a cleanser, which is, designed to not strip, but to repair hydration and cleanse, a scrub because it's the most important thing. You got to take it off to put it in, and then a serum. A serum is about like major repair, and then the wand. So it's the 5 pieces with the wand. So, and I have videos, I do monthly webinars, and I have a booklet that has the instructions on it. So I make it as easy as possible, because to me, if you've committed to you, you've committed to True Energy, you've committed to a place where I'm going to show up. I'm going to show up and support you in whatever way you need in that process, which is why I do the monthly webinars and have an amazing support team. So here's an idea, Ashley. How about if we do a live tracking, because it'll take, as far as being able to do 30 days. I don't know when the last time you had injections was, but
It
let's
was
just,
like 5 weeks ago. No, 6 weeks ago.
okay, great. Okay.
Not even that. It was like 9. Look at this. I'm ready.
How often do you do Botox? What's your frequency?
Not often. I tried it one time 5 years ago and got filler. I was collaborating with a doctor, and then I stopped. And then about 9 weeks ago, I tried again because like I just wanted to go through this whole renewing. My kids are older now, and
Mm,
and so I want to do it again. And then like I'm still over here and I'm like, I have a lot of pigmentation issues. Like I did not wear a lot of sunscreen. I'm from the beach. So like I
yeah.
have a lot of sun damage as well. And it's more's coming up as I'm getting older. Even if sunscreen now, it's coming up. And so like
Actually, don't forget sunscreen has chemicals in it.
that too. And we talk about that.
Right.
They're like,
Right.
wear sunscreen, but it's like, but isn't it bad for you? It's like so many mixed messages. I agree. And so it's like, for
Yeah.
me, love what you say. You say, meet people where they are. And I'm at a place that I did all those things. Is it too late for someone like me? And like, I would love to be a
Yeah.
hamster. Definitely show live results of me doing this. I'm serious.
Right, right, right. What you also need is the spot treatment, because,
What is
spot treatments shouldn't have bleach in them. So I'll talk about the spot treatment. So the spot treatment is, with the frequencies that I've imprinted, which if for those of you who are like, frequencies, what the heck is that? Or why would you put them in skincare, is that everything has a vibration and a frequency. It's kind of like, it's like kind of like the tuning fork of the body, right? So the frequencies have imprinted specific things like collagen production, acupuncture, like all the balancing of all the acupuncture points that you're touching, and the vibration of the cells and things like that. So it's very much the idea of using frequencies to just help to retune the innate intelligence of the body. So, and it speaks the language, if you will, so that it understands what it's supposed to be doing. So the spot treatment has, what's that?
I wanted to go back really quick and you talk about retuning. Like, this is so interesting to me, this kind of stuff. Like, I'm such a nerd a little bit when it comes to this because, like,
I
I didn't
understand.
gain this knowledge. How many more women I'm sure you meet every day that don't know these things, Kathy? That we're not taught these things on a daily basis. We're
Right.
not taught to like regulate emotions. We're not taught how to take care of our skin truly. And we live in a branding culture where everything has to
Yes.
be branded, everything has to be niche. And it's like, who am I authentically rather than who the world tells me I need to be successful?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so
Yeah.
I'm like, you're stuck with me because I'm just going to be like, okay,
Perfect for me. Yeah,
because
I love who
yeah,
you are. I love being stuck with you.
good.
That's great. Yeah. So I think, ultimately kind of getting back to that challenge, if you will, is to, start using, well, do like before photos, have you do, which is, I ask everybody to do that before photos of, straight on 45 degrees, making sure you turn your whole body, and then almost 90 degrees to be able to, get a good side view on both sides, and then being able to have like the light straight on, no shadowing on the sides, on your face on
Right.
the light. And then also I'll ask people do multiple, because I want to try to get them side by side, because all of my before and afters are by the customer, by the person themselves. So multiple angles and the consistent lighting enables us to get them as close as possible. And you'll see I have a lot of before and afters on the website. But so do your before photos, and then let's do 15 days, 30 days, and then Botox takes a little while. It depending on how long someone's been doing Botox and how often they do Botox, I get different things that show up, and I generally know what those are gonna be and what that's gonna look like. Sometimes encouragement helps.
I don't get it that often.
Yeah,
I
you
just
don't, you don't. So you're in a perfect place. You're in a
yeah.
perfect place for, you know
Tell your people, tell your people to tell my people or tell me that I want to partner with you. Like I want to do this lot. Like that's perfect. That is literally how I do things on my platforms is authentically. Like I take people with me um through these things so they can understand that they're safe in whatever it is like I promote or I do or what works or what doesn't work, because people, it's hard. We live in a social media world where you can't really trust anybody, you know?
Actually, yeah, trust is a huge thing, isn't it? And it's hard to know, you
And
gotta go on that feel.
yeah, and you're teaching discernment. You're connecting our bodies, our skin, like to the discernment of our emotions. And I teach people how to trust themselves and stop
Mm,
like overthinking and stop minimizing and stop dismissing their own discernment like about someone, like to really start trusting within themselves, because I am 36 and we grew up in a generation that you were to be seen not heard, and that
yes.
we talked about emotions. We just ate Twinkies and Coke and McDonald's and like, and so I think that it is needed I know that it's needed for my community, because I'm not just thinking about me, I'm thinking about everyone else and how I mean, Kathy, this touches everybody. We don't have to sit here and say, well, I'm glad that works for you. I'm glad that works for you. This is like a whole thing, like a
Culture.
whole,
It's a
yeah,
culture. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So
And
you're helping in that though. You're helping into recreating that, the culture of nature. Use nature. Going with nature is always better than going against it.
so, Kathy, I don't want to take up any more of your time. If you could share one thing with our community here on Confidence and Coffee, what would it be?
Yeah. Well, I actually think that we touched on them, and I think it's really two important points, which is that, how you feel when you wake up in the morning and look in the mirror can make or break your day. And I want you to feel the confidence that you deserve and the amazing human being that you are when you go out in the morning and really spread that energy. And then the other part that we were talking about, which is it's never too late. It's never too late to just regain yourself and to repair and to rejuvenate and to, all the amazing words that we use to be able to just reconnect with our culture and, creating a culture. So I think we're on a good path.
Yeah. Oh, the wisdom. Kathy, where can we connect with you? I know you're on Instagram, but like, could you tell our audience, reach out? Where can we get this true energy system? Like all the things.
Yeah. TrueEnergySkincare.com, right? So TrueEnergySkincare.com is TrueEnergy skincare.com. And then if you do /you, just YOU, then you'll actually get specific information about the face and the body treatment that I have as well. And amazing offer on that too.
I'm really just so honored that you came on Confidence and Coffee and you gave wisdom, truly. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Very, very beautiful spot you have. Thank you.
Thank you. You guys, go check out Kathy, okay? Go check out this wonderful product, True Energy Skincare System, that helps you heal on the inside. Okay, I'm doing it. Do the challenge with me. Tag me in it. Do this 30-day challenge, and we'll tag each other and we'll like lift each other up and we'll encourage one another, because it does start on the inside, and I'm a big advocate of that. And so make sure that you go follow her. Love this episode, okay? Just tap the screen, okay? Go park your car if you're in the car and hit the subscribe button. Leave a rating and review so we can get this out to more women who need to hear this message, to hear, and I'm going to say this, and I've never said this about anything, but to hear this cultural phenomenon, this truth that we've all been seeking and desiring, that we don't have to go spend a bunch of money on something that freezes, but something now that we can invest in that heals, restores, and rejuvenates. So again, Kathy, thank you again for coming on, and I will see you guys next Tuesday on Confidence in Coffee.
If you loved that episode of Confidence in Coffee, stop right now, go leave a rating, a review. Tell me how this podcast episode inspired you. How did this inspire maybe a friend that you know? I would love to hear your testimony. Maybe screenshot, tag me in it on social media, wherever you are, so I can celebrate and share it with you. These ratings, these reviews, your subscriptions to the podcast on YouTube and anywhere you listen is so helpful to get this community growing, to get this message out. It takes you 2 seconds to make such a huge impact, so don't forget to do that. And I will see you next Tuesday on Confidence and Coffee.